For many people, Brendan Fraser will always be remembered as the charming adventurer from The Mummy, the funny jungle hero from George of the Jungle, or the lovable caveman from Encino Man. During the late 1990s and early 2000s, he was one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars. He had the kind of career many actors dream about: hit movies, worldwide fame, loyal fans, and the ability to move easily between comedy, action, and serious drama. Then, for many years, audiences began asking the same question: what happened to Brendan Fraser? His face became a symbol of nostalgia online, and people often joked about his absence from major movies without knowing the full story. Behind that quiet disappearance were serious physical injuries, personal loss, emotional struggles, family responsibilities, and an experience that Fraser later said deeply affected him. His journey is not simply about a famous actor losing his place in Hollywood. It is about a man trying to survive in an industry that can celebrate people one day and forget them the next. It is also about how public attention can be painful when people do not know the truth behind what they are seeing. Brendan Fraser's return to the spotlight became one of the most emotional comeback stories in modern Hollywood because it showed that success is not always about staying at the top. Sometimes success means finding the strength to return after life has pushed you away from everything you once knew. Brendan Fraser's early life helped shape the warm and flexible personality that audiences would later love. He was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, in 1968, but his family moved often because of his father's work. As a child and teenager, Fraser lived in different cities and countries, including places in North America and Europe. Moving constantly meant he was often the new student, the person who had to enter unfamiliar rooms and quickly learn how to fit in. That experience may have helped him develop the friendly, humorous style that became one of his greatest strengths as an actor. He learned how to make people comfortable, how to find humor in awkward situations, and how to connect with strangers. After studying acting, Fraser began getting roles that showed both his comedy skills and his emotional depth. In Encino Man, he played a frozen caveman trying to understand modern life, and his innocent, wide-eyed performance made audiences laugh. Soon after, he appeared in School Ties, a serious drama that allowed him to show a different side of his talent. These early films proved that he was not only a funny actor with good timing. He could also play characters with pain, confusion, and emotional conflict. By the early 1990s, Hollywood saw him as a rising star with a rare ability to make audiences smile while also making them care deeply about the people he played. The next stage of Fraser's career turned him into a major movie star. Films such as George of the Jungle, Gods, and Monsters, and especially The Mummy, made him famous around the world. In The Mummy, he played Rick O'Connell, a brave but imperfect adventurer who could fight danger, make jokes, and still feel human. The movie became a huge success, and Fraser became the face of a new kind of action hero. He was not cold or distant. He looked like someone who could get scared, make mistakes, and still keep moving forward. That made him different from many action stars of the time. However, the success came with a serious cost. Fraser performed many of his own stunts and pushed his body hard during physically demanding movies. Over time, he suffered injuries that required medical treatment and surgeries. He later spoke about problems involving his back, knee, and vocal cords, as well as years of pain and recovery. Viewers saw the exciting action scenes, desert chases, fights, and dangerous moments, but they did not see the physical damage building behind the scenes. This is one of the hidden realities of Hollywood. Audiences often enjoy the final product without knowing how much pain, pressure, and risk may have gone into creating it. Fraser continued working and making jokes in public, but the strain on his body was becoming harder to ignore. In 2018, Brendan Fraser spoke publicly about an experience from 2003 that he said had affected him deeply. He told GQ that Philip Burke, then a leader in the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, had allegedly touched him inappropriately during a luncheon at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Fraser described feeling shocked, embarrassed, and emotionally hurt by the incident. Burke denied the allegation and said he had only made a joke, but Fraser's account became part of a larger conversation about abuse, silence, and power in Hollywood. Fraser said he did not immediately go to the police because he feared the emotional and professional consequences. He asked his representatives to seek an apology, but he later described the response as unsatisfying. It is important to be careful when discussing what happened next. Fraser himself said he did not know whether this event directly caused his career opportunities to decline. However, he also said he felt that the silence from the Hollywood Foreign Press Association was painful and difficult to understand. Around that period, his major leading roles became less frequent, and fans noticed that he was no longer appearing in the kind of blockbuster films that had made him famous. Whether or not there was a direct connection, the experience clearly left a lasting emotional mark. His story showed how difficult it can be for people in powerful industries to speak openly when they fear losing control of their own lives and careers. While his public career became quieter, Fraser was facing several difficult personal challenges at the same time. His physical injuries continued to require treatment, and the long process of surgeries and recovery affected his ability to work at the same pace as before. He also went through a divorce from actress Afton Smith, with whom he had 3 sons. Divorce is difficult for anyone, but it can become even more stressful when it happens alongside career uncertainty, medical problems, and public attention. Fraser was also raising children, including a son with autism, and he worked to keep his family life as private as possible. In 2016, he lost his mother, a deeply painful event that came during an already difficult period. Soon afterward, an interview clip of Fraser looking tired and emotional spread online. Instead of asking what he might be going through, many people turned the image into a joke and shared it as a meme. The internet called it sad Brendan Fraser, but the people sharing it did not know that he was grieving and carrying heavy personal stress. This part of the story is important because it shows how quickly the public can turn a real person into a symbol. A photograph, a short video, or a tired expression can become entertainment for strangers, while the person behind it is dealing with pain that no one can see. For several years, Brendan Fraser continued acting, even though he was no longer receiving the same level of attention he had during the height of the Mummy era. He appeared in television shows, supporting roles, and smaller projects. He did not disappear completely, but he was no longer treated as one of Hollywood's biggest leading men. During this time, fans began showing their support online. Many people who had grown up watching his movies started sharing memories, clips, and messages about how much his work meant to them. The support was not only based on nostalgia. It came from a growing understanding that Fraser had been dealing with serious struggles, while the public had been making jokes about his absence. When the larger conversation around abuse and silence in Hollywood became more visible, Fraser decided to speak openly about his own experience. His honesty was meaningful because he did not present himself as perfect or fearless. He admitted that he had been afraid and that it had taken him years to find the words to describe what he felt. This made his story powerful for many people who had also remained silent about difficult experiences in their own lives. Fraser's return to public conversation was not based on a dramatic publicity campaign. It happened because audiences began to see him again not just as a character from old movies, but as a human being who had endured pain and was still trying to move forward. The true turning point came when director Darren Aronofsky cast Brendan Fraser in The Whale. The film gave Fraser the role of Charlie, a lonely English teacher living with severe obesity who wants to reconnect with his teenage daughter before it is too late. The character required Fraser to perform with deep emotion, patience, and vulnerability. Instead of relying on action scenes or comedy, he had to communicate pain through his voice, his eyes, and long quiet moments. Fraser wore a prosthetic suit for the role, but the performance itself came from his ability to understand Charlie as a person rather than simply a tragic figure. He spoke about wanting audiences to see Charlie's humanity and not judge him only by his appearance. When The Whale premiered at the Venice Film Festival in 2022, Fraser received a long-standing ovation. Videos of the moment spread quickly because people could see how emotional it was for him. He appeared overwhelmed, as if years of pain, silence, and uncertainty were finally being answered by recognition. The response was not only about one movie. It represented the public realizing that Brendan Fraser had always been a serious actor, even when Hollywood had mostly treated him as a comedy and action star. His performance opened a new chapter in his career and reminded audiences that talent does not disappear simply because the spotlight moves away. In 2023, Brendan Fraser won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his performance in The Whale. His Oscar speech became one of the most memorable moments of the night because it carried the weight of his long journey. Standing on stage, he thanked the people who supported him and spoke about how difficult the road had been. He said that he had been working in the industry for 30 years and that things had not always come easily. He also thanked director Darren Aronofsky for giving him what he called a creative lifeline. For fans, the moment felt bigger than an award. It felt like a public recognition of someone who had been misunderstood, underestimated, and forgotten by many people for too long. Fraser's comeback did not erase the injuries, losses, or difficult years he had experienced. It did not change the fact that he had faced serious emotional and physical pain, but it showed that a person can still find a new path after being pushed away from the life they once had. His Oscar win also changed the way people looked at his career. He was no longer only remembered as Rick O'Connell or George of the Jungle. He was seen as an actor with depth, courage, and a rare ability to make audiences feel something real. His return became proof that careers can have more than one peak. Brendan Fraser's story is often described as a Hollywood comeback, but it is more meaningful than that. It is a story about resilience, dignity, and the importance of seeing people fully. Hollywood can be a place of huge opportunity, but it can also be a place where people are judged quickly, forgotten easily, and pressured to hide their pain. Fraser's experience reminds us that public success does not mean private life is easy. A person can be famous, admired, and financially successful while still struggling with fear, grief, injury, and loneliness. His journey also teaches an important lesson about kindness. The internet can be quick to make jokes about someone's appearance or career decline, but there is often a story behind the image that people do not understand. Fraser did not return because he wanted revenge or because he wanted people to feel sorry for him. He returned because he was given an opportunity to do meaningful work, and he was ready to take it. His performance in The Whale showed that he still had something important to say as an artist. Today, his life and career continue to move forward, and his story remains inspiring because it proves that difficult chapters do not have to be the final chapters. Sometimes, the people who have been quiet the longest have the most powerful stories to tell. Brendan Fraser's journey leaves viewers with a question that goes beyond Hollywood. How do we treat people when they are no longer at their best? It is easy to celebrate someone when they are successful, smiling, and appearing on magazine covers. It is harder to show patience when they are struggling, changing, or no longer fitting the image we expect. Fraser's story encourages people to look beyond fame and remember that every public figure is also a person with a private life. His return to the spotlight was emotional because it was not just about winning an Oscar. It was about being seen again after years of feeling overlooked. It was about finding a voice after silence. It was about proving that pain can change a person without destroying them. For fans who grew up watching The Mummy or laughing at George of the Jungle, Brendan Fraser's comeback feels personal because his movies were part of their childhood. But his newer work gives those fans a different reason to admire him, not only for the characters he played, but for the courage he showed in real life. His story is a reminder that life can take unexpected turns, careers can change, and difficult years can feel endless. Yet hope can return when people keep moving forward. Brendan Fraser did not simply come back to Hollywood. He reminded the world why he mattered in the first place. Thanks for watching. We will see you in next story.